Assalamu alaikum. All right, I've wanted to share $5 billion ideas from Business Mastery last week. I promised a few days ago that I want to share some great lessons. When I was looking through my notes, I thought, SubhanAllah, look at this. I've got around five case studies. Tony Robbins just went through case study after case study. He even had some of the CEOs there. So let me go through it, right? Inshallah, we'll be able to do it in 5 minutes. So the first lesson, before I go into the kind of five broad strategies, right? Is the power of learning in a group, right? Just going to these events or going in a group setting. First of all, this was a course which I could have done individually, but there's a group of entrepreneurs. We managed to arrange it so that we could, learn in a group, and just being in that group, bouncing off ideas, eating together, learning together, chilling out together. We managed to go to a football game. Right, that just added, it just made the whole event more memorable, keeping each other accountable, sharing resources. So make it an experience, making learning an experience. That's one of the benefits of going to these events. It makes it memorable. It sticks in your mind. It adds emotion to it. Remember my last video last week when I said the number one key thing with Tony Robbins events after 100 hours of training, that number one learning was about adding emotion, right? And then getting in your body through repetition. So anyway, that's the one thing. So let's go through those five strategies. So number one, which kind of scared us, right? We're all entrepreneurs there. Some have had our businesses, some are starting out, some have been in 3 years, some 5 years, right? And he was talking about the danger of competition and being really wary of competition and keeping your edge, and being able to witness opportunities when they come and being able to pivot when that happens, right? And this is really important. And the incredible example they gave was Airbnb, right? So Airbnb being a competitor to Hilton. To just give you the context, the Hilton started with it's 105 years it's been around. It's got 1.12 million rooms, and it's got a market cap of $54 billion, right? Airbnb has just been around 16 years. It now has 7.7 million what do you call it, listings, right, where you can get rooms, and it has a market cap now of $88 billion, right? And the astonishing thing is, when it started, right, the founder was living, he couldn't even pay his rent, right? And this first strategy, right, is linked to being wary of your competition. And on our side, right, knowing that it doesn't matter how great the industry is, how big, how long they've been in, if you can be resourceful, right, then you can come up with something incredible, right? What the founder was struggling, to pay rent, and what happened was, in the middle of I believe he was staying in his room, and then there was an event locally which was completely sold out, right? All the hotels in the area were fully booked, and he just had this idea. So, okay, look, all the hotels are booked up. He got some air beds, right? I don't know if you're seeing where this is leading, right? Got some air beds, and they just made a listing, just put an advert saying, if you're looking for a room, I'm renting out these air beds. You can sleep over in my place, and it's probably ridiculously cheap, right? To his astonishment, he was completely fully booked out. There's high demand, and he said to his friend who did this with him, why don't we try this, experiment with this a little bit more, okay? And before you know it, Airbnb was born. And it's genius, because you've got the demand from the demand for wanting rooms, right, which everyone needs rooms, but and at a cheaper rate, and then you also have the owners who like to make money from it's a new business for them, right? So it's just an ingenious idea, and look at where that led to them, right? One more example of being wary of competition. And I guess this is about technology, new ways of working. Is the famous Blockbuster versus Netflix debacle, right? The whole Blockbuster been around for so long, and in 1998 he had a 3.9 billion revenue, and it was dominant. Netflix had just started. In 2 years, Netflix offered that Blockbuster could have bought them out for just 50 million. They refused, thinking that, look, this is just a fad. And what happened? Within 10 years, Blockbuster were bankrupt, right? And Netflix went on to get 200 million subscribers. Now in 2024, there's just one Blockbuster store left in the whole world. And Netflix have got 269 million subscribers and and 33 billion dollars of revenue, right? It's crazy, right? So that's the kind of first strategy of just being wary of competition, right? And this is true in any niche, and being wary of new trends and new technologies which can disrupt your industry. We can be the disruptor, right? And we have to be wary that no matter how comfortable we are, we have to be aware of competition with new ideas, and we have to be willing to pivot. And in the age of AI, that is something which we need to try to utilize to make sure we don't lose to our competition. Okay, that's kind of the first broad idea. The second, the second broad idea is looking at innovation in marketing, right? And I've actually got like 3 examples here. So innovation in marketing and being able to kind of but you could say the first, what we just talked about in Hilton and Blockbuster, Netflix. This is important innovation, right? When you have competition, you have to keep innovating in order to stay ahead, and you have to be wary of technology, etc. The next strategy is marketing specifically, right? And the power of really high quality marketing. And the best examples here is the water industry, okay? And so there's 3 companies, and then the CEOs of the last one actually was in the event, and they talked about how the very first big water company was actually called Perrier. And what they did was they looked at, like, in pubs in the alcohol sector, where you always have one person in a party, in a group, which needs to be sober so they can drive the others back. So they gave that a name. They said, let's call that the designated driver. Made that like a kind of cool thing, made that cool in the advert. So that actually became cool in sitcoms and stuff like that. And they attached that to that with the designated driver. When they come into the bar, the pub, whatever, they're going to get the Perrier. And they made the bottle really slick, make it look like alcohol, but just sparkling. It's just sparkling water, right? But because of the marketing, making it look special, making it look cool, attaching it to the designated driver, doing adverts about it, getting actors to come in, it started coming into the popular culture in kind of sitcoms and stuff. Oh yeah, I'm the designated driver, I'll take the Perrier, right? Perrier went on to become $1 billion brand, right? Can you imagine? Second example, right? Then it came, well, look, not everyone likes sparkling water. What about some people like still water? But at the beginning, people like, who's going to pay for tap water, right? And back then they didn't have all the technology we have now. It's not, it weren't like distilled and pure. This was more or less tap water, right? But what they do, put it in a bottle, right? Put on a nice label, like with mountains, making it seem pure, right? And what are you giving the consumer? And this is the important thing, right? What do consumers want? It's giving them convenience, right? Okay, look, instead of getting water and carrying it around with me, oh, look, here, it's there in a bottle, it's convenient. It looks clean, right? So you have a kind of certainty, look, this is clean, right? This is clean water. And I guess that's important, right? Especially when you're traveling, go to developing countries, right? I know when I travel to Bangladesh, they always say drink bottled water, right? So there's that kind of certainty. But, and that's where Evian were born. Again, it became $1 billion company just selling water, right? Ingenious. And then recently, if you think, oh, the water market's saturated, really quirky company, I invite you to look into it, Liquid Death. I haven't heard of these guys, right? But you've heard of Monster energy drinks and stuff, right? Red Bull. So Monster energy drinks are very, you see them on the, cage fighting, what do you call it, UFC. You see them sponsor UFC, right? So this company came along and they just thought they'd be quirky, right? They're just thinking, well, look, why is it that everything which is like cool and edgy is always to do with unhealthy, sugary, bad for your metabolism kind of stuff? So the guy here decided, well, look, let's just put water in a can and just make it edgy, make it cool. And they made these really edgy, really cool adverts saying that basically death to plastics. They made energy drinks their enemy, and they just called it liquid water. And you just check out the adverts. Just Google or go on YouTube and just write "liquid death" original advert, and you'll see what I mean, right? It's amazing, so original. They use humor. They got celebrities in, and they just made it like they just did this kind of thing, like competing with the energy drinks, making them the enemy, and they just did it with humor, and they made it cool. And next thing you know, teenagers, kids, they're basically getting liquid death and it's just water. It's just, I think they just had water, sparkling water. They're just their two products. $1 billion company. How crazy is that, right? So that's the power of marketing. The next case study. So I mean, I've given you three. I've already given you five in a way, right? But that's a kind of second broad strategy. Third broad strategy is how crisis can bring a breakthrough, right? Crisis can bring about a breakthrough. So the best example I think is Apple, right? Apple on the verge of bankruptcy. They had sacked Steve Jobs, I think, nearly 10 years before, 1997. And what do? Steve Jobs comes back and he changes the focus, right? And this you could call this strategic innovation. He comes in, this is a crisis, and then he focuses first of all on simplicity, right? So there's another strategy there. Simplicity. They had a product line of I think it was 8, 9, 10 different products. He brought it down to just 4 big products, right? The iMac and a couple of things, right? So that simplicity really helped. It made it much easier for the consumer to know what they're getting, and there's a focus. And then they focused on elegance and design, beautiful design, right? And that's what the aesthetics, that's what Apple became famous for, right? And then constantly thinking different, right? That became the brand, and that's what set them apart, right? So this crisis, it actually brought about, and they didn't just become $1 billion company, they become $1 trillion company, right? One of the most successful companies of all time. Fifth strategy is learning, right? Learning from other cultures, learning from other cultural examples, right? And the best example of this is Starbucks, right? And the whole coffee shop industry, right? So Howard Schultz, really interesting story. He was actually part of Starbucks at the time. Was just it was a coffee shop, but it was more like a wholesaler, and it just had different types of coffees. It wasn't somewhere where you sat and drank, right? It wasn't that type of coffee shop. It's where you literally buy coffees. It had a few branches, and coffee shops back then, right? The places where you sit and eat and drink. They were like kind of. You'd go there and have your your breakfast, and you'd have lots of food options, and coffee was just something on the side you just pay like 50p for, right? Or 30 cents, and you could have free top up, and it's just black coffee, and that was it. It wasn't a big deal. He went to Italy and went on a trip to Italy, and this was when was it? This was 1983, right? And there's a lot of lessons in this case study. 1983, he goes to Italy, and he sees a whole different coffee culture, right? He notices, and there's kind of 2 big things he notices which he learned from and borrowed, right? The one thing is a coffee culture. That coffee shops there is what we call a third place, the third place concept. And this is something which is like, it's not home, it's not work, it's a third place in between home and work. Somewhere when you come back from work, you would go there, a bit like a pub, I guess, right? And this would be like a third place where you would relax, you could get a bit of work done. And he made, and he saw that this is what Italian coffee shops were like. So this was one thing he borrowed, like, let's make these coffee shops beautiful, nice ambience, somewhere where it's comfortable for you to chill out, work, or socialize in, right? So that's this coffee culture. And the second thing is that the coffee was premium, right? It's not just something you just add on to your meals. No, we're going to go for high quality beans, proper espresso coffee, and go and get different types of coffee, and it's a premium coffee, right? So the focus is on the coffee, and that becomes what's cool. That becomes what people want to come in to try, and that was a second major shift, right? So you can see it's an innovation again. It's constantly Tony called it strategic innovation, right? It's not just about improving. It's not just about improving what you've got. No, this is not improving what you've got. This is strategic innovation. This is completely changing, right? Adding a new service or completely changing your offering to meet the needs of the market, or to innovate in a way which is going to make you the market leader. Really, really smart, right? And then the third thing he did, which was not from Italy, which he did himself, was branding, right? He really branded Starbucks, made it really clear, make sure all the different chains were exactly the same. You knew what you were going to get, you knew what it would look like, you knew what options there were. So really investing a lot in branding, so that it became something worldwide. Okay, great lessons there, great lessons. SubhanAllah, I mean, just to kind of link back to my own business, to think what I've done well so far and what I still need to do. I think in terms of innovation, in terms of the coaching space, Alhamdulillah, with the Vista Time Mastery program. My program is one of the only programs out there which combines high-level productivity and time management coaching, and combines that with an Islamic element, right? That's within an Islamic framework, so you learn and you get progress in your deen, as much as you do in terms of productivity and time management, and it's within a high ticket coaching environment, right? So this is not just something where you just come to a master class, you just have it's not just a course. This is a world-class coaching program, a bit like what I've experienced myself in the productivity space, except I've made it targeted for Muslims, and it gives an incredible experience where it's more results oriented, right? A lot of programs you go on, it's great information, great knowledge, but you don't really transform. The whole point of my Vista Time Mastery program, it's all about results. It's all about actually getting a transformation. It's all about making more progress in a few weeks and months working with me than you do years by yourself. So that's my strategic innovation. I need to do much more. But if that's something you're not experiencing, you'd like to experience, do let me know in the comments. But anyway, the main point of this video was to share those $5 billion. I've given you more than 5, but 5 case studies, $5 billion lessons. Tell me in the comments below which example resonated with you most. What did you enjoy from this video? I look forward to creating more content which will benefit you, inshallah. Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.